bass brethren. I am out here today with my recently acquired 1978. It's not a Marshall Major, it's a Marshall Super Lead. Now, I've talked about my Marshall Major in the past, but my first bass rig was a 79 Super Bass that I ordered in 78, and it showed up in 79. And then the 80s hit, and nobody liked my Marshall, in particular Soundmen. So I went to a bi-amped rig, a Gallien-Krueger 800RB. Perfectly fine piece of gear. It lasted about 4 months. I couldn't stand it. So I went to Bruce at the House of Guitars, and I said, buddy, can you help me out? All he had were Marshall Majors, so that's when I purchased my 72 Marshall Major. But for years, I've always wanted to revisit my 79 Super Bass. Well, lo and behold, when I went to look for a Super Bass this year, they're pretty hard to find, and they're pretty pricey. I lucked out. I found this 78 Super Lead available locally for a really nice price. It has been modded with a master volume, which honestly I'm perfectly fine with. A lot of cats don't like them. I'm perfectly happy with it. It's a reversible mod. It can be put back. For those of you who don't know, there's very little difference between a Super Lead and a Super Bass. Just a few different resistors and capacitors. Personally, I'm not going to change a thing on this amp. I love it just the way it sounds, and it reminds me so much of why I loved Marshall 100-watt heads to begin with. The sustain on the upper register is just incredible. The notes leap off the fingerboard. I was doing some pre-production work with Johnny Smoke, and I did some basic tracks with a Marshall, a Super Lead, and I was like, there it is. There's that sound that I love so much. So I had to go out and buy this. So I've got it hooked up so you can blend the two channels. Got the patch cord in. So we'll do a little sample here. I'm going to do both a little flat right now. So one's bassier, one's more treble. I personally like to leave the volume 2, which is the brighter channel, at about half, and I like to crank over the volume 1, which is the bassier channel, and that thickens it right up. It's very reminiscent of Bob Daisley's early work with Ozzy, because he used one of Randy Rhoads' Super Leads, the same Mark II vintage, and a Gibson EV3. Now, I'm using a 60s Thunderbird. It's a very similar sound. You know, listen to that. Just listen to the sustain. It's amazing. It's really quite amazing, and that's one reason I love these amps so much. Just the notes just pop. It's just a wonderful thing, especially if you like to spend time on the upper register. Today I have the amp paired with my Hiwatt 2150, which actually is the cabinet that I originally had back in the late 70s that I used with my Marshall Super Bass. I also had a mid-70s 412, which is actually upstairs in the house right now, and I don't feel like dragging it downstairs. So this is basically a recreation of my original tube rig that sent me down the path of all these tube amps that I've owned over the years, from SVTs to Marshall Majors to Hiwatts, etc., Ampegs, etc., etc., etc. So I thought you guys might like to see a quick video about it. Hope everybody's getting out there and playing. Don't forget your brick and mortar stores. My personal favorite is the House of Guitars here in Rochester, New York. So again, keep on rocking, my friends, and I love this amp. I'm so happy I bought it.